The scheme, first perpetrated by this man, Charles Ponzi, earned him a mere few $1 million and deportation to Italy. Now, 3 of his accused successors await their fates. Bernie Madoff, alleged $50 billion swindler, remains under house arrest. The deadline for indictment is February 11th. Nicholas Cosmo already spent time in jail for fraud. Now he stands accused of a new scheme involving bridge loans. Charlie Gasparino breaking the story today. He owes the mob big for gambling debts. Today, missing hedge fund manager Arthur Nadell turned himself in to authorities in Tampa. He's charged with bilking customers out of $300 million. Is this all just the tip of the iceberg? Jake Zemansky is principal and securities lawyer at Zemansky and Associates. Tom Gorman is chair of the SEC litigation practice at Porter Wright. Christy Hefner still with us this hour. Jake, let's start out off with you. We have not only learned about all 3 of these swindlers, but also the CFTC has said that since the Madoff scandal broke, they are more aware of Ponzi schemes, and in fact, the rate is at historic proportions, actually, in terms of what they found so far in January. Is it simply that we are more aware and regulators are more aware of the problem that already exists out there?
Melissa, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're starting to see more and more Ponzi schemes. As the market is turned down, people have tried to get their money out, and that's when these schemes are exposed the most. I'm hearing from people all over the country who are being victimized by these folks, and there are going to be a lot of others. The SEC really needs to get on the ball under the new administration and root out a lot of these problems before they take place.
Tom Gorman, is the SEC equipped to do this? We've already heard from Linda Thompson that they are not.
I think it's very difficult for any regulator to really root these things out. By nature, remember, they're secret, they're frauds, and they don't last very long. But there's a couple things that they really can do, one of which is to really be a partner with the investors. Investors have to be skeptical and raise questions, but the SEC, when they get questions, when people raise issues about these things, they have to very aggressively follow up on them and do that. I don't think that was done in some of these cases.
Christy Hefner, you have seen administrations come and go. Tell me your sense. How much of what we're seeing right now is a result of an attitude that came down from the top when it came to regulation? And can just the presence of a different attitude at the top of an administration mean a difference when it comes to enforcement?
Yes, I think it can, and I think you're right in saying it's an attitude as well as obviously it's the people you put in place and what their approach to government is as to whether government needs to be an activist partner in these matters or a kind of hands-off laissez-faire. But I have to say, having said that, I also think we have to remember that all of these schemes only work when there's a willing suspension of disbelief, and there needs to be a certain responsibility taken by investors. When it looks too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
Melissa, we need to do a couple of things. Investors, they're right. They got to be skeptical when they hear an affinity situation, somebody in a religious or social group introduces you to an investment. Watch out for that. People need to check out these brokers. If you go on FINRA.org, you can find out the criminal record, complaint history. They could have done that with Cosmo, and you got to make sure that your money is held at a legitimate custodian bank or brokerage firm with your name on it. Don't let people commingle. One last point. I think the SEC needs to partner with the states. We have a great attorney general here, Andrew Cuomo. There's a great one in Massachusetts. We need to have a national approach to securities fraud, just like we have with terrorism, where the feds work with the states. That's not being done, and I think that's something they can do.
Tom Gorman, I want to pick up on what Christy Hefner said, which is the personal responsibility. We can blame administrations all we want. We can wait for the Godot of regulation all we want. But what I have heard, Tom, is that people might spend more time figuring out their $30,000 car purchase than they would what to do with their $300,000 of investment. Isn't that a huge part of the problem?
That is a huge part of the problem that's going on right here. And just go back to the scheme you mentioned at the beginning, Charles Ponzi, the so-called author of it all. He promised people 50% in 45 days. Now, if you hear that kind of return, 50% in 45 days, you've got to say to yourself, whoa, this sounds too good to be true. And you know what happens when it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is.
That's exactly right,
all right,
Melissa.
We're going to leave it there. Thanks so much to you all. And for much more on the Ponzi scheme of Nicholas Cosmo, watch On the Money tonight. Angry Investor 911, Victims Speak Out. That is tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time only on CNBC. Straight ahead,